Hi, everyone. So I am Donnette, and I am excited to be here with you. I'm here and done, unbothered, as the Guyanese people would say, not really worried about too much. Just want to be myself and talk to you about my next move. And I've decided to film it. I've decided to um, just put something together where other folks can also come to and reference and be able to help make their own decisions about where they stand and what they want to do long term. Uh, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I teach college. I've been doing so for the past 16 years. I have a wonderful humanitarian program in Guyana and also in Jamaica that gives back to middle and high school students. Reading and library program after school kind of thing as well. And they're all in public school settings. I am an NYU grad. Two times I have both my bachelor's and my master's from NYU. Proud Violet all day long. And I'm married with three children. So we have a 29-year-old, 24-year-old away in school in Chicago. Definitely one of the best art schools in the country. I think number three or number four. And I also have our last son is in the Marines, so we're pretty much empty nesters. In the past 4 years, we have changed our lives significantly. So we are accustomed to living in large spaces, doing, having individual rooms for our children, just always, living a certain type of lifestyle. And once our children began to go off to college and to seek life on their own, we decided, well, my husband has long asked me to downsize, and it was something that I didn't want to do. So we do have a home that we rent out in Georgia. And, thank God we have a great couple that takes wonderful care of that property. We are about to buy a second home here in the state that we live. And, we're contemplating it because we want to make sure that when we leave, we can use it as a rental property. Now, the problem with that is that if you buy too high, which our state is pretty expensive, if you buy too high, what can end up happening is that it can end up being where all of the monies go back into mortgage, even if you rent. Because if you're looking at a property where you have to pay about $1,200, $1,300 a month for a property like the one that we're looking at, which is a townhouse, or also we're looking at a condos, you're looking at asking a family when we move away to actually go in and pay that amount. And based on what people make in terms of their salary, that may not be affordable. With our property in Georgia, it's much easier because we make at least half the amount in what that comes to us rather than go to the mortgage company, because the mortgage is relatively cheap, even though it's a brand new property, even though it's a pretty decent sized property, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bath property. We had upgraded it before we left, so it's really a nice location, a nice, not far from Atlanta, not too far from the airport, in between the two major areas that people would want to visit. About 10 minutes from the airport, about 15 minutes from Atlanta, downtown Atlanta. So with all that said, we are trying to make this decision about moving back home. So that's what brought me here to talk with you guys. Moving back home to Guyana, which is where we're from. We left Guyana, just so that I can give you some history. We both left Guyana at about 14 or 15 years, well, maybe 15 years old. And we grew up here in the United States. I went to middle school, then high school, then, of course, college, and then the university. And I'm at my PhD program now. Haven't been able to finish it because I don't have that focus right now, but I am at my dissertation level. My husband, on the other hand, he's always been a hard worker. He's not the school person, so to speak, but he is very, very instrumental in making sure that everything else works in terms of our family and budget and everything else. And working, always working hard, of course. He works way harder than I do because I'm an educator. Educators don't work as hard. We have a lot of time off. And we also get to not stress ourselves. We work with our brains, we don't work with our hands. He is a person who works with his hands. Anyways, with that said, we are now making this decision to transition to Guyana. And I brought up this idea to him after the fact that we pretty much looked at life here in the United States and decided that it's sometimes overrated, and it's not to downplay anything that the United States have done for me. This is a place and a country that I love. This is a country that I celebrate. This is a country that I embrace. But it's just time for a change, so to speak. Things are becoming more expensive. You go to the grocery store, it seems like you're spending like $200 every week. And I don't know if we eat that much or if it's just a matter of having that appetite to have more, or is it just expensive as hell? Why can't I have, salmon and shrimp and fancy foods, and why can't I have fancy things if I want it and not have to worry about budget all the time and about this or that? And I'm not talking about people's whose salaries are, low, or you're in the bottom class or whatever. You're talking about people who make decent money, right? And of course, I do my side gig and I make money on my side gig and I do other things. So what is wrong with this picture? So for me, I've decided that I don't want to live like that anymore. I want to be able to have my money. I want to be able to see it making a significant difference in our lives towards retirement. And I don't think this process that we're in right now it just seems like a round the world merry-go-round kind of thing. You get paid, you spend on rent, you spend on mortgage, you spend on everything else, and you make money on the mortgage in Georgia. That goes. You spend on kids, like the one in college. You spend. And this began to really bother me. And, I did just, and for years, I've always said that I would go back home. But of course, I didn't have a solid plan. I just wanted to get out of the United States, especially when I was at the university and I was overly stressed. And so I wanted to go back home just to be relieved, because when I did go back on vacation, I would feel so de-stressed. I would feel so loved and so appreciated. And I wanted that love. I wanted that appreciation. I wanted to feel relaxed. And I didn't think I was getting that in the U.S., even though I had my husband and my kids and so on. It was just overwhelming. And when I say that, the love, it's not that they didn't love you. It's just that you were so stressed that you didn't value what it is that they were giving you as much. But that was in my 20s. I have long relaxed and moved on and built and, continue on with my life and my family. And now that the kids are grown, pretty much they're young adults on their own, doing what they have to do and pursuing their own dreams and their lives. It's that time again to revisit the drawing board and to see what's there. Now, I have prepared myself in every way. There isn't a thing that I think that is untouched in my life in terms of, making sure that everything goes well. In terms of education, that's covered. In terms of skill sets, that's covered. In terms of being open-minded to change, I'm very open-minded. In terms of allowing the culture to be what it is and not imposing the culture that I grew up in upon the other culture that I want to enter back into, that's a go. It's not a big deal. So I'm 47 at this point. My husband is the exact same age. We're only about a month apart. He's August 27. I am September 19th. We were born in 1973. So with all that said, I just want to be able to, once again, live peacefully, save some money, not spend so much in bills, and just enjoy my life. And the United States isn't doing it for me at this point. I don't need to always be stressed about bills, and every single monies that come in, I have to worry about what it's going to go to next. We have expensive cars, for example, or cars that require something goes wrong, you spend hundreds of dollars to fix it, or sometimes it will rack up to $1,000 at any given moment, and all that stuff, it just gets to you. And so I know some of you may say, hey, well, you can get a cheaper car, this and that. Well, how about this? We and I'll show you around in my place. I'm always on TikTok, and so there's nothing to hide in my life, so to speak, in terms of my home and downsizing and so on. So I am about 5 minutes from the beach, so yes, but we downsized so that we can pay a cheaper rent, and so that money could go into different things. And so one of the things that I did, smartly, I think, is that the same money that I would have been paying either in mortgage or in rent, the extra money, I have invested that into my business over the years. So I have spent that money building my business. So I have a small business home, and I have a small business here, along with what I do for a living in terms of my career. And so I think I've set everything up that way really nicely. Now, the next step, right, is for me to be able to enact exactly what I want to do. Now, I've got some plans, and I don't want to share every single plan on here, but it's just making sure, though, that the concept that I have towards establishing, like, say, for example, a business outside of what I already have, I want those things to manifest itself. I want it to grow. So we are considering taking out monies from our retirement, taking out whatever it is we have to, instead of owing the banks, and using those monies towards building. So because we all know that in Guyana, for example, once you have your land, you really can just build on your own. Do you need a mortgage? I see a lot of Guyanese people doing the mortgage thing, and that is such a bondage in so many ways. And I feel like as though that's not a route I want to go down. I already have a mortgage here, and I don't want to have to deal with it. More than likely, we'll have a second mortgage before we leave. And so to be able to not do that in Guyana for the kind of small business that I want to do there, I think it would work. My husband, on the other hand, he's got great skills in so many ways. I mean, he is a workout fanatic. He's good at mechanic work. He can do whatever it is. So we can really monopolize on the skill sets that we have. So are we ready for this transition in terms of all the technical and literal things that it requires, and educational feat that it requires? Absolutely. Are we ready for it emotionally? I think so, definitely. He enjoys Guyana as much as I do. It's our home. Even though this country has been our home for the past maybe almost 34 years, we are ready to transition. And I wanted to share that experience with you. So I came to you today unbothered, not by my hair, not by anything else. The fact that you're seeing all these grays is because I'm just really being me. I've been embracing getting up there in age and being normal and being natural and loving me for, I've always loved me, but I'm just loving the growth in me, and being able to embrace that next step in my life is also pretty significant to me. So, we are going to be doing these videos. And I wanted to be able to share them with you, and so that you can follow and see how we do. We are not planning to leave for another 4 years, 4 years or so. So you're looking at 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, around 24, 25. But I'm starting to share because there is a process that it has to go into this. you cannot just pack up and go. You have to make sure that everything is set in place. Now, we don't know what God has in store, but all we can do is plan. All we can do is put things in place so that way it works out better for us. Retiring here isn't an option for us. I think it will be too expensive. I think it will be too, just not what it is that we want. And we want the coconut water lifestyle. We want the fresh breeze. We want all those things, right? And right now, it's not allowing, when we look at everything and the cost of living and everything else and the state that we live in, which we totally love. But the reality of it is that it's too expensive to even continue on that way as we get older. That's what I know for sure. So, like I said, we have done much in order to downsize and to do what we have to in order to be able to live at a, certain level, not going too low, not for making sure it's not too heavy in terms of pricing, and just doing all the things that it takes in order to be able to live a decent life here. And we do live a decent life. However, we want to be able to take those same monies and live even a better lifestyle. So, because we know it's possible. So, I will be tuning in, talking about my progress, telling you all the things that I've got in place and I've got set up in order to do this transition in a few years. But it's important that I start documenting from now what's happening, what the phases are. So this is just video number 1, and I plan to just keep feeding videos until we get to that spot. So you'll be hearing me talk, and some days I'll talk about finances. Some days I'll talk about just the planning phase. Some days I'll talk about land acquirement. Some days I'll talk about vehicles acquirement, business expansion of it, making sure that I develop it the way I want to, maybe the launching of my business before I get there. So, do I have a place to stay? Yeah, because even though I have a place to stay, because I have my grandma's home, I want to build my own property, of course. So we'll talk about that as well. So I look forward to talking with you and sharing my progress. And hopefully you can be here to celebrate with me and to cheer us along as we go, and to help other people maybe younger than us who wants to make that transition as well. I didn't want to wait until we are like 60 to be able to do this. Like, I want to enjoy life. Like, life is so fluid. It just goes, right? And the amount of people that we've lost in this pandemic, the amount of lives and just wonderful souls that we've lost, have just taught me more and more to just enjoy. And I don't want to wait until at that stage where I'm not healthy enough, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. Like, I want that energy that I have, that 40 something energy, to really come out in what it is that I'm about to do next in the next phase of my life. So thank you so much for following. I'm Donnette. I haven't decided what I want to title this particular topic. But this is the first stage, so maybe I'll just name it that, first stage. All right, so help me, welcome me, and help. Hopefully I can have an audience that shares in my passion to want to move back to their own countries. If not Guyana, it could be someplace else. Alrighty, so we'll talk. I said I started off thinking I'll do 20 minutes, and I'm about 19 minutes now. And besides, the airplanes overhead, it's just like, just getting really loud. So we'll check in again. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.